What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some very spicy battles in the Open Great League submitted to the channel by Fernando Lovebox, who's running a triple shiny shadow theme team with two Pokemon I often run in their shiny shadow forms, with Venusaur and a load of Marowak, but with the third Pokemon being Murkrow, which is a Pokemon you never see in the Go Battle League, and for good reason too. It's not particularly good, but it does hit incredibly hard, as you'll see throughout these battles. And with that being said, let's just get straight into the question of the day. What's the one shiny shadow Pokemon that you really grinded for but unfortunately you were not able to obtain? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so go into the first battle, each shiny Shadow Venusaur into Pelipper. Now this isn't great for us. We can win probably the 1 and 2 shield, the 0 and 1 shield scenario, but if the opponent wants to, they can probably just fully fast move farm us down here. They're going to shield the first Frenzy Plant. They actually don't throw, so it looks like they're committing to the full wing attack farm down, which is really bad because neither Pokemon in the back are going to do very well up against this Pelipper's energy. So we're going to shield the first charge move. They do just go for the Weather Ball, but they swap into a Quagsire. Now we're going straight for a Foul Play. Foul Play going to do slightly more damage than the Drill Peck. I believe Drill Peck is slightly more energy efficient, but if you want raw damage, then Foul Play I think does 5 more damage. So we're going to shield. It is just a Mud Bomb bait, but the fact that they go for Mud Bomb means they're probably not running Aqua Tail, and it means that they don't make it to a Stone Edge. We live the Mud Bomb there, and we have a Drill Peck. We win the CMP tie up against the Pelipper. Coming back in, Drill Peck takes out the Pelipper, and the opponent has a Go-Goat in the back. We're going to swap, catch the charge move onto our Venusaur. This will be a double resisted Leaf Blade. Doesn't matter, it still takes us out from that range, but we make it to the Drill Peck in time, and Drill Peck will be taking out the Go-Goat, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we see Venusaur into Serperior. Now this is an okay matchup, but we've got two better Pokemon up against grass types, so we swap into our Shadow Marowak, and we're actually running Hex, Shadow Bone, and Bone Club, so no Fire Blast here. The opponent is going to stay in this matchup. We did farm out quite a lot. The opponent lets the first move go through. We make it to a Bone Club. This is resisted damage, and if they're counting correctly, there should be no shielding, but the opponent chooses to use their shield there. And at this point, we're happy to let Marowak go down. The opponent goes for Aerial Ace this time, and it is enough damage to take us out. So we're now going to come in with our Shadow Murkrow. We should live this quite comfortably, but we're going to use our shield anyways. The opponent goes for Aerial Ace. That wouldn't do too much damage. They swap into Dugong. We're slightly slow to swap out there, and it does mean they make it to an Icy Wind before we can fire off the Frenzy Plant. This, of course, is going to debuff our attack. We can go for the Frenzy Plant. It should still be enough to take them out, but it's very likely that they shield, and they will barely outpace us because we didn't swap out quick enough. And from this range, Icy Wind will be taking out the Venusaur. We're going for the Drill Peck immediately. We need to get rid of this before we take any more damage. Drill Peck takes out the Dugong, and let's see what the opponent wants to do here. We don't have much energy. They come in with the Medicham, and they will actually outpace us, but no, they swapped out there, meaning we get the extra feint attack through. We make it to the Drill Peck, and we take out the Medicham there to take that game. So that was quite fortunate for us, but still very good closing power from the Shadow Murkrow. Into the next game, we see Greninja in the lead, so this is a great lead for us, especially seeing it, well, obviously it's not going to do, our backline, sorry, it's not going to do very well there, but the opponent goes for Aerial Ace. That does huge damage. They then swap into a Mantine. We're now going to respond with our Murkrow, and we are actually going to no shield the first charge move here. It's an Ice Beam. It one-shots us from nearly full health there, and now we do lose switch advantage. We can come in with the Marowak, and we will be able to Hex farm them down, which is quite nice, but they can come back in with their Greninja. We're going straight for the Bone Club. This will not be enough damage to take them out from this range, but we can spam it quite quickly, and now this probably might force another shield from the opponent. It does exactly that. We're now going to use our final shield. The opponent goes for Night Sash. We're now going to swap, and they're at the back-to-back, so they throw the second Night Sash immediately. Night Sash takes us out, and they swap into a Drifblim. We can go for the Shadow Bone. We do slightly overfarm in this matchup, and from this range, Shadow Bone takes out the Drifblim. We can make it to the Bone Club, but we settle for the Shadow Bone instead. I think that is the correct call. Bone Club probably takes them out from this range, but we make sure anyways by going for the harder hitting Shadow Bone, and it takes out the Greninja, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next game, we see Shiny Shadow Venusaur into Skeledirge, so not a great lead for us at all. We're going to say swap into our Shadow Alolan Marowak, and the opponent responds with a Drapion. Now, with Fire Spin, this actually isn't that bad for us. The opponent going to go straight for an Aqua Tail, which we do live reasonably comfortably. The opponent will have to throw another charge move to take us out, otherwise they're not going to be able to fully Poison Sting farm us down, which means we can spam Bone Club after Bone Club, but you can see already the Hex damage is resisted. With Fire Spin, we could probably just shield this and Fast Move farm them down, but we're happy to let the move go through. Probably going to come in with our Venusaur here and go for the Vine Whip farm down. The opponent would make it to a charge move there, but they actually swap into their Skeledirge, and the opponent is going to make it to a charge move. We're going to use our shield here. Can we go for a full Feint Attack farm down? No, they're already at the back-to-back charge moves, so we're going to double shield the Murkrow, and now we will be able to go for that farm down, but the opponent still has 2 shields remaining. They've got Greninja in the back. It's not looking too good for us, even though we do have a Venusaur. Yeah, I think the opponent will be able to take us out, but no, they're actually going to overfarm. I think they're just going for the full fast move farm down, and that makes the most sense here. We are barely not able to swap out in time. The opponent is going to go for the back-to-back charge moves. The first one coming through, Night Slash, does quite a lot of damage. A second Night Slash, if it doesn't take us out, it will get us incredibly low, and they can just Water Shuriken farm us down, and we do unfortunately lose that game. But into the next game, we see a Charizard in the lead, so going to say swap into our shiny Shadow Alolan Marowak. The opponent responds with a Water Gun Lantern. Not ideal for us whatsoever, but they give us a big energy advantage. So we go for the Shadow Bone, and we're going for a second Shadow Bone. And if we get a defense drop here, we might actually be able to farm them down. No, the opponent does use their shield though. And at this point, I think we just let this go through, and then we can come in with our Venusaur, go for a massive Vine Whip farm down. At this point, we can resist everything the Lantern throws. So we can let the first move go through here, go for the Vine Whip farm down, and we will come out with a ton of loaded energy, but the opponent recognizes that they will be able to get fully farmed down, so they swap back into Charizard. We go for Sludge Bomb, grabbing the final shield from the opponent, and now we come in with our shiny Shadow Murkrow. We're going to shield the first move as the opponent full sends the Blast Burn there, and they're already at another charge move. I think this is just a Dragon Claw, but we're going to play it safe, use our shield. Honestly, Dragon Claw would do a lot of damage anyways, but here we're able to get the full farm down. The opponent comes back in with the Lantern. We do overfarm, go for a Drill Peck here, and it just depends. What does the opponent have in the back? They've got a Poliwrath, and we make it to another Drill Peck, and Drill Peck is going to do huge damage to the Poliwrath. It puts them into range where we can Vine Whip, farm them down, and we're able to take that game. Into the next game, we see Dunsparce in the lead, so this is also good to see in the lead. It does do quite well up against both Pokemon in the back, and here we are going to see the opponent throw straight away, so we get a full Vine Whip in for free as they go for a Drill Run, and we are now also going to throw on Alignment, so not very good timing all round in this gameplay, but the opponent does let that go through, so it doesn't matter. We can just safely shield this up and go for the full Vine Whip farm down here. So the opponent comes in with a Trevenant, we're going to stay in, go for the Sludge Bomb, and if the opponent lets this go through, we might even be able to fully Feint Attack, farm them down with the Murkrow before they make it to a charge move, and the opponent has a Medicham in the back, and this should be game over. We can go straight for the Drill Peck. This will be grabbing the first shield from the opponent, and now we swap into our shiny Shadow Alolan Marowak. Are we going to shield the first move coming from the Medicham? We are. It is a Psychic. They don't get the debuff, and now we should be looking very good here. We just farm to the back-to-back Shadow Bones. Psychic will not be enough damage to take us out from this range. And this Shadow Bone should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. Shadow Bone does get that final shield, and we've got the second one loaded already. And this will be enough damage to take out the Medicham, and we're able to take that game. Into the next game, sorry, I was trying to speak faster than I was actually able to. We're going to say swap into our shiny Shadow Alolan Marowak, and we bait out a Shadow Swampert. So we're actually going to go for a Bone Club bait, and the opponent uses their shield there. We can now fire off the Shadow Bone as well, and if this does connect, we might be able to flip this matchup, but no, the opponent does double shield their Shadow Swampert, and I agree with this. Just let the Shadow Marowak go down. The opponent actually undercharged that. Really good play there, because we could have even fired off a Bone Club, but we didn't realize they were going to undercharge it, but it doesn't really matter. We can shield once. We know that they've only got a Shadow Victory Belt in the lead, so actually we should be fine here. We can just go straight for the Sludge Bomb, and Sludge Bomb is going to be neutral damage. It takes out the Victory Belt, and they have a Bastiodon in the back, so obviously Murkrow wants literally nothing to do with the Bastiodon, so we're going to stay in with our Venusaur, go for Frenzy Plant number 1, dealing big damage, and we can safely shield this up, go for Frenzy Plant number 2, and honestly with the Vine Whip damage, this probably takes out the Bastiodon from here, and if not, we can just come in with the Murkrow, but it takes them out anyways. We come in with the Murkrow, get the Feint Attack farm down up against the Swampert, and we're able to take that game. Into the next game, we see Politoed in the lead, so this is a great matchup for us, and the opponent makes it even better for us by throwing straight away. We know this isn't going to be an Ice Beam or a Blizzard, it is just the resisted Weather Ball. We're now going to go for a Frenzy Plant here just before they make it to the next move. The opponent's still staying in, they choose to throw straight away once again, and the fact they're staying in means they're probably quite weak to Venusaur in the back, so we should be recognizing that here, going for another Frenzy Plant, and Frenzy Plant will be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. But we are happy to let the Venusaur go down, so it'll be interesting to see if that is a mistake, as the opponent clearly weak to that Venusaur in the back. We're now going to shield a Weather Ball, which wouldn't do too much damage, and the opponent has Galarian Stunfisk in the back, so we're now going to go for a Foul Play. Foul Play is going to do quite a lot of damage to the Stunfisk, but they should be able to outpace us to 2 charge moves here, so we're actually going to let the first one go through. Rock Slide fully one-shots the Murkrow, and now we kind of have to shield this. We don't know what is in the back, but let's see. The opponent goes for the Rock Slide, and it is Azumarill in the back, so that's why they shielded up against our Venusaur. Azumarill doesn't do very well up against our Venusaur, but unfortunately they're able to align it to a Marowak with 0 shields remaining, and it doesn't matter. We can go for 2 Shadow Bones. It's not quite enough damage to take them out, and the opponent is going to full send the Hydro Pump, taking out the Marowak, and unfortunately we lose that game. But into the next game, we see Medicham in the lead, so our entire team does fairly decent up against the Medicham, but we're going to swap Catch the Ice Punch, which will be resisted damage onto our Shadow Marowak, and the opponent comes in with a Lantern, so we also end up baiting out Lantern, which would be very good, well, very bad for our Murkrow, so great to see it here, and we also grab a shield as well, so not really sure why the opponent would use their shield there, but now we can come in with our Venusaur, and I assume we're going to farm to back-to-back Frenzy Plants and throw on the CMP tie. But no, we do throw one early, doesn't really make too much of a difference here, but if I was playing this, I would have thrown on the CMP tie, and now the opponent comes in with a Galarian Stunfisk. We can go straight for the Frenzy Plant here, and this will do huge damage if it does connect, which it does, and now we're going to shield, and once again, we can overfarm in this matchup here. Make sure we never throw straight away, going for a Frenzy Plant just before the opponent makes it to the next charge move. Frenzy Plant grabs the final shield from the opponent, and at this point, I think we just let the Venusaur go down. They are in range where we can Feint Attack, farm them all the way down, so the opponent recognizing that, they swap into their Medicham. We can safely shield up the Ice Punch, go for a Drill Peck. It will be enough damage to easily take out the Medicham from this range, and the opponent will not be able to make it to a Rock Slide on the Galarian Stunfisk before we Feint Attack, farm them down, and take that game. So going into the next battle, we see Shadow Venusaur into Defense Form Deoxys. Now this is a bit of a tricky matchup. We're actually just going to choose to swap out straight away into a Alola Marowak, and the opponent is able to catch the Shadow Bone, but they catch it onto their Skeledirge, which is a very interesting play. We're also able to make it to another Shadow Bone very quickly, and Shadow Bone does connect this time around. It takes out the Skeledirge, so I'm not sure that's the right play by the opponent, but now we're going to let the Thunderbolt go through. They aren't running Rock Slide. They do barely outpace us to the next charge move. We are now going to shield up a Psycho Boost, and let's see, we are going to overfarm now, go for another Shadow Bone. We could have gone for 1 extra Hex, I do believe, but the opponent lets Deoxys go down, and they've got a Registeel in the back. We're going straight for the Shadow Bone here. Shadow Bone will be connecting. It doesn't do too much damage there, but we make it to a Bone Club anyways, and Bone Club should be grabbing the shield at this point, but no, they still let it go through. So now we swap into our Shadow Venusaur, and honestly, we should live anything unless they're running Flash Cannon, but even then, I don't think that would quite take us out here. But otherwise, the typical moveset would be resisted by the Shadow Venusaur. We go for Frenzy Plant. The opponent is actually still playing this out. I thought maybe they'd given up, but doesn't matter. The next move coming through, Focus Bars will be taking out the Venusaur, and we can just Feint Attack, farm them down with the shiny Shadow Murkrow and take that game. Into the next game, we see Tentacruel in the lead, which is a bit of a tricky matchup once again, but we're going straight for the Frenzy Plant. Should be grabbing a shield, otherwise it will deal big damage in this matchup, and the opponent actually just lets that go through. We should just let this go through as well. It's just an Acid Spray, so definitely shouldn't be shielding there. Even if it was a Scald, it would be resisted, so we're now going to swap out straight away, and the opponent has Marwile in the back. We're going straight for the Shadow Bone, and this is a pretty good matchup for us. The opponent is actually just going to concede the match there instantly after seeing the Marowak, and we're able to take that game. Into the next game, we see a very tricky lead with a low-end Sand Stash. We're choosing to stay in initially. We don't go for a catch immediately there as the opponent goes for an Ice Punch. We're now going to swap into a Marowak and the opponent responds with a Mandibuzz. Probably the worst thing we could possibly see. We're not running Fire Blast, but what we should do is at least farm up to a potential Fire Blast. That way we might even grab a shield in this matchup. But like this, we're not going to be grabbing shields here. And the opponent does now know that they can overfarm in this matchup. They don't overfarm by an awful lot, but Dark Pulse will be taking out the Marowak there. And also Venusaur doesn't have a great matchup into the Mandibuzz either, so it's not looking very good for us. We're going straight for the Sludge Bomb, and Sludge Bomb from this range actually grabs a shield from the opponent. We should live an Aerial Ace here, so we're going to let the first move go through. Aerial Ace does quite a lot of damage there, but we can make it to another charge move, but they will be outpacing us. We're actually just going to no shield here, put it all on our shiny Shadow Murkrow, but it's not looking too good for us. The opponent makes it to another charge move. Unfortunately, Feint Attack doesn't generate energy very quickly. For whatever reason, they go for a Dark Pulse there, so we're happy with that. We can go for a Drill Peck thrown just before they make it to the next move. Drill Peck takes out the Mandibuzz, and the opponent will be able to very easily outpace us to 2 charge moves here. We're going to shield the first one anyways, just in case for whatever reason they no shield this and we can farm them down. But the opponent does use their final shield, and they can make it to one final Ice Punch. And from this range, Ice Punch will be taking out the shiny Shadow Murkrow, and unfortunately we lose that game. But honestly, that team just completely destroyed ours. Not a lot we could have done. But into the next game, we see a Shadow Gligar in the lead. So going to say swap into our Marowak, and unfortunately Gligar also core breaks this team. We're going to go for a Shadow Bone. That does land. It does do quite a lot of damage there, actually more than I was expecting. We're now going to shield, and the opponent full sends the dig there, and then they swap into Medicham. That is such a strange decision by the opponent. They also don't even go up to the Psychic. We can let a power-up punch go through, absolutely no problem. We're now going to bait with a Bone Club. I'm not so sure about this. And the opponent does let it go through, so just weird decisions all round. We're now going to let the next power-up punch, actually no, it's a nice punch this time. We're once again going to bait. I don't know why we're baiting here. Bone Club grabs the shield, and we do at least make it to that Shadow Bone, so it pays off this time around. But if we didn't bait the first time, we could have just taken out the Medicham and still had a lot of health remaining. But now we come in with our Murkrow, and this is game over for us, unfortunately, as the opponent can just go for Lunge in this matchup. Lunge won't be taking us out, but it's going to do a lot of damage here, and we can actually go for a Frenzy Plant here. Is this still on? We can go for the Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant takes them out there, but they can just Wing Attack, farm us down. But I think we can just shield here and go for the Feint Attack, farm down. It depends how much energy does the Gligar have. They don't have enough energy there. I think the opponent misplayed that, but we're able to take that game. Now going into the next game, we're going to see a Lantern in the lead. The opponent safe swaps into a Vigoroth, but they did wait for one fast move, so actually able to outpace them to the Frenzy Plant, and unfortunately that's a CMP tie somehow. Not really sure how that is, but we're going to shield up the Body Slam, and we can try to catch the next Body Slam onto our Shadow Marowak, and this actually isn't that great of a matchup since we are running Hex instead of Fire Spin. So even though Bone Club will be neutral damage, it does not do much damage here, and Hex is really not going to add up at all. So we're going to need to land 2 Bone Clubs here, but the opponent makes it to the charge move already. So we're going to use our shield. They full send the Bulldoze, and now we can overfarm quite considerably. We do go for 4 Hexes there, go for the Bone Club, and Bone Club will be taking out the Vigoroth from this range. The opponent then comes back in with the Lantern. We're now going to go for a Shadow Bone, and Shadow Bone is going to deal some nice damage to the Lantern. We actually get the defense drop there, and we make it to another Shadow Bone. Do they use their shield there? They do use their shield, so we swap back into the Venusaur. We get the Snipe with the Frenzy Plant, and let's see what the final Pokemon is. It is their own Venusaur, but we can make it to the Sludge Bomb, one fast move faster than the opponent. Sludge Bomb does big damage there. They can now overfarm as much as they possibly can. Go for a charge move, very good timing by the opponent. Sludge Bomb will be taking us out, but I think we can just go for the Feint Attack, farm down, taking out the Venusaur, and we're able to take that game. Alright, going into the next battle, we see Chestnut in the lead, so this is a pretty good matchup for our entire team, actually. We're going to stay in. We do resist everything they're typically going to throw, unless they're running Gyro Ball, which is very unlikely, but they go for a Frenzy Plant, which is double resisted. It looks like they try to swap and catch a Sludge Bomb, but they're not able to do so, so we full send the Frenzy Plant there, grabbing, well, actually dealing a lot of damage. The second one should be grabbing a shield, but no, the opponent just fully sacrifices the Steelix there. Quite an interesting play, but now the opponent comes in with a Shadow Charizard Charizard, we come in with our Marowak, we can go straight for the Shadow Bone, and this should be grabbing a shield from the opponent. It does exactly that. We also get the defense drop here. They have got us very low with just wing attack damage already. They go for a Dragon Claw. We should live a Dragon Claw from this range, so we're going to let the next one go through. Dragon Claw barely doesn't take us out. We make it to another Shadow Bone, and this should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. It does exactly that, but at this point I think we can just come in with our Shadow Murkrow, go for a full feint attack farm down. These feint attacks are actually doing huge damage to the Charizard. They full send the Blast Burn, and now we can make it to the Drill Peck up against this Chestnut, and this is double super effective. It easily one-shots the Chestnut, and we're able to take that game. Into the next game, we see a Clodsire in the lead, so a bit of a tricky lead matchup here. We are probably just going to go straight for that Frenzy Plant, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. They can live a Frenzy Plant, so they do let the first one go through. They're now going to fire off a Charge Move. We will be shielding the first move. The opponent goes for a Stone Edge there, and they are able to make it to a second Charge Move already. We're going to let the next one go through. They go for a second Stone Edge. We do live that, and we actually get the full farm down. The opponent has a Golbat in the back, so we go for the Sludge Bomb, which is only single resisted. That is the right play. Still doesn't do an awful lot of damage, though. We now come in with the Marowak, and they do barely outpace us. We go for a Bone Club bait, and actually we're going to no shield. They full send the Shadow Ball, and I think it's game over, unfortunately, unless the opponent is only running Mud Bomb, but that's very unlikely. We are going to call the first one. It is actually the Mud Bomb. Oh my gosh, can we somehow win this? We're going to let the next move go through and try to go for the full farm down, but no, they were running Surf as well. They just threw the wrong charge move the first time around, and we do lose that game. But in the next game, we see Steelix in the lead, and it is very likely with Steelix in the lead, they're just going to go straight for that Breaking Swipe. So we fire off the Frenzy Plant immediately. Of course, that would be throwing on alignment, but the opponent is just going to throw straight away. It's just what Steelix users do. So we're now going to swap into our Shadow Alolan Marowak, go for the Shadow Bone here. Shadow Bone grabs a shield from the opponent, and because we swapped out, we should now be able to make it to a second Shadow Bone before the opponent makes it to the Surf, well, on the CMP tie. But this Shadow Bone will be enough damage to take out the Jellicent from this range, and the opponent comes back in with the Steelix. We choose not to go for the Bone Club immediately here, because instead we're going to go and debuff ourselves with that Breaking Swipe, but we make it to a Shadow Bone, which will do more damage anyways. And now we should be able to make it to another Shadow Bone before the opponent either gets the farm down or gets to another charge move. Breaking Swipe takes out the Steelix, and the opponent has a Medicham in the back, and unfortunately we've got no shields remaining. These counters have got us very low already. Ice Punch takes out the shiny Shadow Murkrow, but can we make it to the Frenzy Plant? Yes, we can, and we have got Medicham into a range, but a Frenzy Plant will be taking them out, and we're able to take that game. So going into the final battle, we lead into another Pelipper. So we're going to stay in this lead matchup initially, and the opponent throws straight away, so we can just let this Weather Ball go through. It will be resisted damage. We can now go for a Frenzy Plant, should be grabbing a shield from the opponent, and now we're going to swap straight away into our Shadow Murkrow. The opponent responds with a Galarian Stunfisk, so we're going for that foul play immediately before the opponent can throw a Rock Slide. That does quite a lot of damage in this matchup, and we're actually going to shield our Murkrow, possibly double shield and go for a full feint attack farm down, but let's see, they do outpace us. And we are actually going to let the next one go through. Rock Slide easily one-shots us there. So I'm quite interested about that play, but now we have put them into range where we can just Vine Whip, farm them down, which is also great for us. They come back in with the Pelipper. We can go straight for the Frenzy Plant. This should be grabbing the final shield, so we swap into our Shadow Alolan Marowak. Gonna shield the first charge move here. Hopefully they don't make it to back-to-back Weather Balls, and they do not make it, so we can go straight for the Shadow Bone. Shadow Bone will be enough to take out the Pelipper, and they've got Medicham in the back, and this is looking very good for us now as we go for the Shadow Bone straight away. Once again, Psychic will not be enough damage to take us out. We can get the Hex farm down before they even throw, and we're able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.